your Divas division.
Look whose show you're on, sweetie.
I did it, you bitch.
I think every single diva should be lining up and congratulating me and thanking for everything I've done for them.
You're going to find out why I am the boss.
Kamusta mga kontrabida? Welcome to Turning Heel with Troy Gonzalez. I am your host, yours truly, and we're back with another episode of Who's That Girl, my interview series where I sit down and chat with women in wrestling from all around the world, both inside and outside of the ring. Today we're going inside the ring, specifically behind the microphone. Oh, y'all like that touch over there? Because this girl, she loves to sing. She is wrestling's best musical diva, and she is the reigning, defending, undisputed OVW Women's Champion, as you can see in her background right there. Kontrabidas, handa na ba kayo? Who's that girl? It's Shaloncé Royal. Hi, Shaloncé. How are you doing?
That was good.
Thank you. I hope I did you justice. I know it's not as good as yours.
But you know, you gave it a shot, and that's all I can ask for. I love it.
Thank you. How are you doing today?
I am doing great. I'm still coming alive. You know, I have that kind of sort of natural glow going on, but you know,
right,
I'm coming alive.
Right. You look amazing, and I'm really happy that you got the championship behind you. It fits no one else better than
I
Shaloncé.
know. Thank you for saying that. It's about time someone finally understands that. Who else can hold this as great as I can, you know? Like
Right. Nobody carries that championship like you do, and I'm super, super excited to have you on. I did post on my Twitter early on this year that you are one of my dream interviews for 2023, and it's finally happening. I'm so excited to have you on here. But yeah, I have lots of questions prepared for you, so I hope you're ready because you're in for a treat today.
I'm ready. I hope you're ready because you're in for a treat.
I know I'm in for a treat. I signed up for this, so let's jump right into it. So let's start up with some non-wrestling related stuff because we all know you are wrestling's best musical diva. You're very, very well versed into music and singing, and I feel like every singer has their own personal musical inspirations. In my case, I love me some Mariah Carey and Whitney Houston up in here.
Oh, legends!
So I want to know. Right, legends. So I want to know, who are your musical inspirations that inspired you to sing?
So this is a little bit strange because, like you said, you know, you have a lot of people that go with the greats and things like that. But when I was growing up, I listened to a lot of K-pop or J-rock. And then I listened to a lot of underground artists, or not underground artists, but not what you would think that I would listen to, because this part I actually never discussed anywhere. I grew up in a very religious household, and my mom felt like anything other than gospel music was just of the devil, you know?
Okay,
so of
I
course,
understand.
So when I listened to music, it had to be in my headphones. And that's when I fell in love with 80s music. My favorite band is Journey. And then I fell in love with Vanessa Carlton because that's something that I could listen to out loud without her thinking that the lyrics were horrible. Because, you know, 1,000 Miles, who's going to think that's devil music, you know?
Right.
She couldn't understand the J-rock and J-pop and K-pop. So she obviously kicked against it. But it's when I'm looking at anime and that's the opening and ending theme, she couldn't say anything because she's like, well, that's the opening to a show or that's the ending to a show. So I would just listen to music like that. And that's what inspired my natural sound. The reason why I don't have what people would think, a lot of people would think I would have a stereotypical, soulful, runs for days type of voice. And I actually don't have that. That's my sister. I have a more calm, more... Some say jazzy feel, some say just regular contemporary feel, because I didn't get those exercise with the music that I was listening to. However, opera, my voice is completely different, and people wouldn't think that the genres are married like that within me, if that makes any sense.
Right. Yeah. I see that. Wow, I'm really shocked because I was expecting some sort of I don't know, Aretha Franklin answer or Jennifer Hudson, and you come out here with J-pop, K-pop.
Yeah,
that's really interesting.
I even know the artist Nami Tamaki was one of my girls. Yoko Ishida was another one of my girls. TM Revolution, Hyde, Gact, and several others, obviously. Oh, is it Ayami?
I think
Uh,
I'm not too familiar, but I'm gonna
yeah.
guess that that is
Well,
how
she
you
did a
pronounce
lot of
it.
the indie themes for Inuyasha because I was like an Inuyasha fan.
Oh,
Yeah, and then
okay.
so yeah, like Japan, I was totally like gung ho for Japan, and then I didn't know like Boa. I learned her through her Japanese versions of her songs that she was a K-pop artist at the time, but I didn't know that because this was like way back in the day,
Okay.
the ancient days. So those are the sounds that inspired me, and obviously like Vanessa Carlton, I listened to her a lot, so I think that's where my softer sound came from. And then it just went from there.
I see. Well, that those are really interesting answers because I feel like with opera singers or like people with vocal ranges such as yourself, people would easily like redirect like the inspiration to the divas, like the musical divas of the past with like the names that I have mentioned. But it's really
Hmm.
interesting to see like unique perspectives such as yourself, like pop music in Asia. And speaking of your singing, what I do want to know, I'm not sure if you talked about this on other podcasts, you might have, but with every singer comes their own vocal types and vocal ranges. So tell me a little about your range, like how many octaves do you go? And I'm guessing you
Oh
might be a soprano, but tell me a little about like your voice. How do you understand it to be what it is?
gosh, that's interesting. That's been a while. I haven't had anyone ask me. Uh, I oh my gosh, I'm so unpracticed right now. So this is the reason why. So when I originally began my classical journey, I wanted to be a mezzo soprano. And
Oh,
because I just felt like the roles that mezzo sopranos had, and then like their voice, it was just so rich and everything, and
right.
that's what I wanted. And my lower notes are very well developed, and the higher notes to me I didn't like. And the reason why, which I didn't understand this at the time, was because my voice was way more mature for my age than I
Oh, okay.
understood. So when I would hit high notes, they would be loud, and I wanted them to be light and fluffy and cute sounding. But no, they sound like loud and aggressive, like I'm trying to force you to do something. So I didn't like singing loud. And plus, I felt like I didn't blend with other people like in choir. So I just thought my high notes were no, they were just horrible. And it wasn't until I actually got into college where they explained to me my vocal type and how unique that it is, and that I am most likely a soprano, but I have a darker tone and my voice doesn't move as fast. So that's when I
Oh,
learned that there's different types of sopranos. There's coloraturas, there's obviously mezzo sopranos,
yeah.
there are dramatic sopranos, and they're trying to see was I more of a dramatic soprano or some other types. So
Yeah.
throughout my college journey, that's all that I was trying to explore, and I lost a lot of my lower notes and gained higher notes. However, my regular speaking voice is actually much higher, but because I was
Right.
very determined to be a mezzo, I remember my voice teacher in college, she said, or was it high school? I forget, but they told me if you speak lower, that's exercising your vocal cords and folds. So that way it
Oh,
would help
okay.
expand it. So I naturally just started changing my pitch. So when I get
Oh,
excited or, when I'm not paying attention, I'll slip into a higher range, and that's most likely my normal one. But fast
okay.
forward, um, my voice is higher than I thought. And my voice is higher now, or I think more developed now than it was when I graduated college. So when I graduated college, I believe my range was a little lower. So right now, I think I can hit a high C easily now than I did a
Ooh,
few years ago, but I haven't really been training or anything, so I don't know. But I just know, as you can hear, like when I'm singing, those higher notes come out effortlessly. But that wasn't the
very.
case in college. I think I have so much pressure and I was trying to use all this technique. And when I'm wrestling, I have no time to think about that. The technique either
Right.
comes or it doesn't. And it just releases. So now I'm way up there. I'm way up there on the piano scale now.
Right. 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 Well, we love a developmental vocal range, and I feel like with lots of singers, like it really just varies with how they explore their voice and how they sing and how they train themselves. Let's talk a little something about a specific performance of yours. One of my favorite Shaloncé moments was when you sang the national anthem at All In, and I was like, oh my God. Because, like, you can sing any song out there, you can perform any song out there in public, but when you're singing the national anthem, you really
Yeah.
can't mess up. It's that song that you just cannot mess up, and you did it wonderfully.
Oh, thank
Amazing.
you.
So I wanted to
You
ask, like, tell me a little about like this experience and what did it make you feel? Because I'm pretty sure this was one of the first AEW like events. Am I
hmm
right? Ooh.
So the experience was amazing. I think that I didn't understand the importance of the event. I understand that now. I was still very fresh in the wrestling business. I didn't actively watch wrestling growing up. So there's a lot of like great wrestling talent that was around me and I didn't know who they were. And I
Right.
didn't understand the cause. It was explained to me and I knew it from my trainer QT how he explained the Young Bucks and Cody's situation. And that's all I really understood. And I just knew it was people that were going all out for their dream of pro wrestling. They really believed in themselves, and either they were not invested in well enough, or they felt like they were not invested in well enough with where they used to be, and they're doing this now. But I totally understand the feels now. But then I was just like, oh, this is great.
Right.
However, I am not happy with my performance for a couple of reasons. I'm
Okay.
not, and I keep saying this, I want a second chance. One, I was singing the national anthem in a different genre, if that's the right way to say this, than what I'm used to. I felt like, you know what, my most impressive thing is my opera, and I should have sang it operatically to give a whole different spiel
Okay.
and to introduce them to me. But I got nervous and I felt like people wouldn't have appreciated it and I didn't want to be booed. So I tried to do a more contemporary style that I like to do on smaller shows and smaller settings. So when I listen back to it, it doesn't translate as well, in my opinion, than if I would have just either given it a little bit more soul or just go with what I'm comfortable with. And I wish I could do it over. I wish I could do it over. It wasn't bad, but it wasn't the greatest either, you know.
I did notice that then when you sang, I was like, oh, she's not using her opera singing voice. She's more of on a full voice. I'm not completely sure with like the terminologies, but it felt different from what you do now.
Yeah.
And regardless, it was a great performance, and
Thank you.
you did get some applauses here and there. So I feel like that's a sign. But
I
yeah,
could have saying, I believe because the audience, like they were all just like there for the cause. I could have
right,
saying Mary Had a Little Lamb and they would have been like, yes. Because you know, they popped like the fireworks went off with, by the way, I forgot about the
right.
pyro. And it
Oh,
shook my soul. So when we rehearsed it, I sang it, I rehearsed it because I wanted them to hear it just in case they were like, oh, you suck. And they can tell me, you know, something else. But
okay.
I'm pretty now that I think about it, I'm like, they probably wouldn't have said anything even if I really, 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 really sucked because they're just like, what do we know? We're here to wrestle. And they probably didn't care about that part. But I was just
Yeah.
hoping that someone would tell me and coach me. And Lanny Pofo, may you rest in peace. He was so instrumental to it because he was there and he said he fell in love with my voice. He was encouraging me the whole time. He
Aw.
was coaching me the whole time. Gosh, I'll never forget him. I hope I'm saying his last name right because I just but but yeah, because that was my first time meeting him. But um, it just they walked me through it. They're like, "Oh, it's great." And the cameraman said, "Oh, there's going to be pyro. Obviously, it's not going to go off right now, but there's going to be pyro." I completely forgot about that because when I step out, I know that there's going to be people, but they told me, "Oh, you're not going to see all the people. You're not going to see them." I feel like I saw every single face. Like we were all the way to the rafters. Like I felt like that because I'm like, where are the lights? Why aren't the lights dimmed? And they're just looking at me and I'm looking at them and
Right.
I'm feeling like boo boo the fool. Cause I'm like, I see you, sir. So then I'm like, okay, that's fine. And then the cameraman gets in my face and I'm like, I forgot this is a whole pay-per-view. Not only is Sally and all her people here, then there's
Right.
people at home. There's Couch Cora sitting on there looking at me. And I'm like,
Yeah.
oh no, ma'am. So I got shook. And then when the pyro went off, I literally got shook. And there's a part where you can hear my voice crack because I was trying to recover from being scared. Because I'm like, oh no, my wig. Like I wanted to make sure I didn't have a Michael Jackson moment. But I was
Right.
okay. But all that happened. And I'm just like, oh no. Oh no. So I always beg AEW, give Shaloncé another chance to rock your world with the national anthem.
There you go. And I feel like they have so much pay-per-views, and especially like their major pay-per-views. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe it's Full Gear, which they
Full
promote to be
gear.
like their biggest show of the year.
Hmm.
So if they need someone to, sing the national anthem, I'm pretty sure Lillian Garcia is still in WWE doing
Yeah,
their national anthems whenever, and they have Samantha Irvin. They need someone here in AEW, which I feel like could be you,
right. And I feel
right?
like they could get like a nice little triple threat here. I can sing. I actually can announce. I did that when I was
Oh,
injured.
really?
Yeah, and I also started
Oh.
out that way at the school show, so I actually know how to announce. I can sing, and if you need a wrestler here and there, I'm there. I got you. I can do all of it at
Right,
the same
right.
time.
Exactly. They could book you like in the opening match, see against Jade Cargill, like just sing the national anthem, and right after you end, just take that dress off in your gear, ready to
Yes.
fight. That would be
Announce myself
perfect.
as I'm going to the ring
Right.
and wait for Jade and then get beat up.
Right. But yeah, we have a triple threat up in here, you guys, a trifecta. So y'all know
Yes.
she's the real deal. We love Michelonce. But yeah, that was a really iconic moment. And whether, you do have your own criticisms of yourself during that performance, I still feel like as a fan watching from home, I still feel like it was a great performance. And good
Oh,
job
thank
for
you. Thank
that.
you.
It was wonderful. But yeah, now let's sort of jump into your wrestling career. So I wanted to ask you about something which I'm not really too familiar with, but you've mentioned, I believe, on your social medias that you are a Dusty Rhodes American Dream Scholarship winner. So, for those of the listeners who may not be familiar, what exactly is this scholarship? What does it entail? And how did it help you develop into becoming the wrestler that you are today?
So, Cody Rhodes is actually very big on developing talent. And he likes to, I say, like pay it forward in a sense. And he came up with this scholarship, he and his family on behalf of his father, the Dusty Rhodes American Dream Scholarship. And so, how to acquire it, you had to go through this camp at my school, which at the time it was known to be called One Fall Power Factory, but now it's called the Nightmare Factory. And at the
Mm,
time, it was ran by Glacier, former WCW, and QT Marshall, which now is
okay.
AEW, and now Cody Rhodes. And so it was a camp that lasted, I think, like 2 days. And the people that chose the winner that actually held the seminars throughout those days were Kevin Kelly, Tom Pritchard, and Les Thatcher. So you had to press all three of them, and
Oh, wow.
basically, it was a it was basically a scholarship to help up and coming wrestlers with, you got what I got a trophy. Oh, I should have brought the trophy. I got a beautiful trophy. I got protein powder that like lasted freaking year,
Oh,
and
okay.
money to help for gear, to help for, because like with wrestling, it takes a lot of the
Yeah.
coin, and also it's just a very prestigious award. And I basically had to compete with other women, and because there was a male that was awarded and a female that was awarded, and I had to come, if it didn't feel like competition, it just really felt like you were just going through seminars, because even if you didn't
Right.
win, you got to work with these people and they gave
True.
feedback. And honestly, I entered not really even taking it seriously like that. I didn't think I was going to win because I was still within my first year of training, actually.
Okay.
Yeah. I was very early in, and so I just wanted it for experience. I just wanted to be involved. And that's what QT said. He's like, just enter it for experience. It's like it's this is what this is for. So when they
Right.
legit called my name, I was legit surprised because I was like, I was just trying to have fun. And they chose me, but what they told me is that they saw that, one, I was really coachable, because at the end of the day, I'm hungry for this business. I really want to learn. I really want to get better, and I was so fresh at the time. I'm just soaking up any piece of information you're giving me. It was to the point where at the end of the camp, we had to do matches. Keep in
Ooh.
mind, I'm brand spanking new. I don't know the format, let alone, I think I had like -4 moves, and I'm just like, oh, okay. um and they put me with this other guy that was also very new, super new. So it was
Okay.
like, if there was a train wreck, it was definitely in that building. But the thing is, I did it, smiled through it. I didn't get hurt. He didn't get hurt, and I didn't complain about it. And at the end, like even my coach, Glacier, he was like, "There was nothing you could do about that." But it's the fact that you gave it your all. You treated it like you were at freaking
That's true.
WrestleMania, and that's something that they brought up. They were like, you just did it, and they can see that I really was pushing. And of course, there's other things, but of course, I don't want to say everything that they was telling me. But in other
Yeah.
words, it just showed that they believed in me and they saw something and they knew that this scholarship could really help me. And honestly, it did. It really did, because I'm, as much as I like to believe like I'm just Shaloncé and no one can I got it all together.
Right,
I
right.
periodically have these moments where I'm doubting myself. And ultimately, those are the moments that I feel something comes through and just like, hey, you need to keep going. I've had quite a few of those throughout my career, to be honest. But that was my first one where I was like, I could go back to school. I can go to grad school and pursue opera, or I can pursue pro wrestling. And when I won that scholarship, it showed me that people see something, and I really love this. And if other people can see this, and there's something there, and I'm
Right.
going to regret not pursuing it. So I took that scholarship and turned down a scholarship for grad school. And I'm like, well, I guess this is a sign. Let me go. And I did.
Right. And look at you now. You are a champion. You're looking amazing doing it. And I feel like, there are so many what ifs with like career paths for wrestlers, but at the end of the day, you just have to look back on the decision you've made and how far you've come. And good on you for everything you've accomplished so far. Really, really
Thank
big
you.
congrats. You're doing wonderful. But yeah, speaking of doing amazing, I feel like a pivotal point in terms of getting Shalancey up there with the fans, which I believe is part of like my personal reason for getting you on the show, was because I watched this specific moment or a specific match of yours where you had appearances in AEW Dark, and I feel like this is where most fans discovered you, when you showcased your singing while wrestling. I believe the matches were up against like Ty Conti, Kiera Hogan, and Red Velvet, if I believe to
Hmm.
be correct. And I feel like, from what I remember, all of my Twitter mutuals, because you guys, I do have Stan Twitter, all of my Twitter mutuals were reposting your videos saying, "Oh my God, this lady sings while he wrestles. This hasn't happened since our mother Jillian Hall, and she
Yes.
sings really, really well." So, in your opinion, why do you think your singing persona resonated so well with the fans?
Hmm. I don't know. I think it's because it was different. And usually with most singing gimmicks, because I'm not the only one that's been rocking a singing gimmick, I'm just the only one that does it better, or does it the best. Either the singers are really bad, or, and they know, or they're good, but they do it before they wrestle and maybe after. You don't get many that can do it whilst actually wrestling and not getting winded, because singing opera
Right.
especially takes a lot of breath. And
I
so
know.
it does. That's why I keep telling people, like, don't anyone come after my cardio, because look, I have very impressive cardio, because I can also freaking sing and wrestle at the same time. But
Yeah.
anyway, so I think that's probably what got people, is like, who is this girl who's singing but is actually wrestling, or at least a little bit, because I didn't get as much in, but I did what I could.
Right.
And it sparked people who either really, really loved me, or they really thought that I was annoying. But either way, they're talking about me.
Right. What's that thing they say, like bad press is good press? Is that how it
Yeah,
goes? Like
there's
any
no bad
attention.
press, any attention.
Exactly.
Because trust me, I saw a lot of comments where they're just like, this gimmick is stupid, it's not going to get over. They just let anyone wrestle. I'm like, first of all, I trained for years. I know
Right.
how to wrestle. No one's headlock takeover looks better than mine. But
Right.
at the same time, I can't deny that I lived a whole life before I came into wrestling. Yeah, so it's like I couldn't deny that. And but I also dedicated a lot of time for wrestling. So when people come and say like, "Oh, this gimmick is horrible. This isn't realistic," she should find something that's more believable. First of all, I am an opera singer.
There you go.
Second of
Now
all,
that I
I
know.
traveled the world performing opera. Third of
Exactly.
all, it's very believable because I'm doing it.
Right, like you're seeing it up close in person, like what's not clicking?
Right. So I think that
Right.
was just that. And then like people are, I just think it was the right time because you see a whole bunch of wrestling, just wrestling, wrestling, wrestling. Clearly, I'm the entertainment and I've accepted that. I'm the sports entertainment. And if I can just pull you in and help make you focus or maybe break your focus for a little bit and just provide either people hating me, which they're gonna do, or people loving me because they want to, then that's totally
Right.
fine. I will take that part on the card. And even with like at AEW, I think they were picking up on that because every time that I was there, I would be put towards the part of the card where people are obviously getting tired because they're just seeing like nothing but
Oh,
wrestling, and then they throw me in there, so it's like a little breath of fresh air to
right,
remind to wake
right.
them up because I mean who's gonna like sleep through their eardrums being like screeched out by
Exactly.
my voice.
Right, right. Well, just so you know, I am on the more positive side of the Shaloncé fan train. We love ourselves some Shaloncé Royal, but yeah, the moment that like all of us fans just saw you singing, doing headlocks, drop kicks, clotheslines while singing, like I have no idea how strong your diaphragm is or your lungs, but I have like the utmost respect for you because I
Thank
sing in my free
you.
time, sure, but I can barely sing standing up. So you have you have my respect for that. And yeah,
Thank
your
you.
cardio is probably insane. You probably run while singing. I know Beyonce does that. You probably
Yeah,
do.
I actually can do that now. Yeah. I should record
Really?
myself. There's like a lot of footage that I actually never let see the light of day because I intended to put it on like my Patreon. And then I didn't
Right.
like Patreon. So then I created an OnlyFans and I intended to put that content on OnlyFans. But then people were getting on my nerves because they were asking for other stuff on OnlyFans. And I'm like,
Okay.
not me, not today.
Yeah,
I'm a
yeah.
sports entertainer, not an adult entertainer.
Yeah.
And then I got on this platform called True Fans, but then I was experiencing some issues with that. So then I'm finally like monetized on Instagram. So I'm like, I should put it out. But
Right.
now people are like, oh, we just want to see that. So I'm like, you know what? I might just release it to the public. Watch me work out in heels while singing on a treadmill. I mean, Mariah
Okay.
Carey does it.
Right. Why can't Shalon say Royale? But yeah, I
Right.
would I would love to see that. But yeah, it really does like my respect for you, like wrestling, cardio plus singing. I aspire to have the lungs that you have, but yeah, in another parallel universe. But speaking of wrestlers singing, I'm not sure if you know this. I'm pretty sure you have heard of her name, but there is another wrestler in the Indies. She goes by the name Becca. She calls herself the international pop star, and she also does make music, produces, and she also sings, makes pop music. So I wanted to know could there be a collaboration in the works in the future? Maybe even a match or a riff off? I don't know.
Oh,
What do you think?
well, I feel bad because I actually don't know. I don't know Becca, but I looks like I got to do some research. And
Right,
but I like that idea because like it's been coming up where some people are like, well, what are you gonna do if there's someone else that does like your gimmick or something? And I'm like,
right,
there's multiple singing divas in the world, so
right.
why can't there be in wrestling? It
In
doesn't
wrestling,
have to
yeah,
be a competition. And plus, I do opera. Like let
right,
there be pop, let there be an R&B, let there be a country sing. For all you know, we can have a whole wrestling concert. Like
right,
I welcome it. Like I feel like I mean, if someone else is coming to see my opera, then I'm gonna have to have a talk. But
right.
I'm like, there's more than enough room for us all, and there's more than enough for us to do. So I would love to collab or face her or whatever. I got to reach out to
Ooh.
her.
Right. Well, she has been on a roll recently. She's appeared on AEW Dark a lot. I believe she also appeared on SmackDown last month, where she faced like Lacey Evans.
Oh wait, I do know who you're talking about. Okay, okay, okay,
Becca.
okay. Yeah,
Ooh,
yeah, yes, yes.
okay.
Okay.
There
I'm
we
sorry.
go.
Yes.
It's all right, totally understandable. But yeah, she has been going on a roll recently, and you do have a really prestigious championship with you. So who knows? I'm pretty sure the whole women's wrestling independent scene would be interested in meeting Shaloncé Royal face to face in the ring. But who knows? Maybe in the future we'll see
Yeah, who
some
knows? I'm
action.
more than willing to defend this anywhere at any time.
Right, right. And speaking of that, let's quickly talk about that championship, because in my opinion, and I feel like people should agree with this opinion, that championship behind you is one of the most iconic slash historic women's championships in the world right now. It has so much history. Its lineage is absolutely star-studded. So I want to ask you, like, how does it feel to have your name among the legends who have held that championship, including like Beth Phoenix, ODB, Serena Deeb, Shaloncé Royale? How does that make you feel?
So to be honest, like personally, I feel like it still hasn't quite cemented. Like there's times where I'm like, oh my gosh, like when I won it, I'm just like, I can't believe like these women that I studied that I just that seem like they're so up here and I'm like here. I'm holding a title that they've held. But to be a part of history, that's what's getting me. It's the history because I believe the belt has been redone since. So
Yeah,
um I know like this actual belt they didn't like hold, but the history of it and seeing where these ladies are, and I'm like, that could really be me. Seeing that a promotion
yeah,
of that prestige believed in me enough. You know what I mean? Like it gets really deep.
yeah.
And I just, especially because, to be honest, breaking a little kayfabe here, um, on the indies, I was a talent that was used a lot to get other people over to
Hmm.
the point where I felt like, why isn't a promotion believing in me enough to push me? Like, what am I missing? What am I lacking? And it caused me to internalize a lot of things that I probably shouldn't have. And it affected my confidence greatly. And of course, your personal life doesn't stop going either. So I was just being hit on a lot of sides, and which also contributed to me wanting to quit quite a few times. And I get to OVW, and at first, when I get there, of course, I'm just doing my job, but I'm learning, I'm soaking it up, and I'm determined to bring something different to the table. I know the prestige. Actually, to be honest, when I got to OVW, when I agreed to go to OVW, I didn't actually understand what OVW was. And I know this,
Okay.
I didn't until I got there and I was like, oh, this is the OVW. Because, there are a lot of wrestling promotions that share the
Yeah,
same
yeah.
acronyms. There's so many
Right.
CCWs or GCWs or CGW,
Yeah.
there's so many. So you don't know until you actually look at what the words are. And a lot of times from wrestler to wrestler or promoter to wrestler, we're just saying the acronym, like the
Yeah.
letters. So when I get there and I see the pictures on the wall and I see like the little history and things like that, I'm like,
Oh, this is Ohio
oh,
Valley
Ohio Valley
Wrestling.
Wrestling. Ooh, okay. But yeah, I'm like, here I am. Shaloncé's here. And that's when I got nervous and scared. And then I did a few matches and then I disappeared for a minute. And I came back and I'm like, oh, I'm ready. Here we go.
Okay.
And I'm like, you're going to see me and hear me, but definitely see me. And next
Right.
thing you know, I'm in a title match against Layla Gray. And next thing you
Mhm.
know, I'm holding the freaking title. And now
Right.
I'm on Wikipedia. It's official now. Wikipedia
You
has me as a
are.
champion.
Right. And when I was doing the research on like that championship, it's really insane. Just scrolling through the list, it's like Beth Phoenix, ODB, Serena Deeb, Taryn Terrell, Katie Lee Burchill. Who else is there? Just so much. It's such a colorful lineage, and to have your name at the
Mhm.
very bottom as like the most recent championship holder, I was like, she really made it, and I'm so proud of her. And like, it's such a huge honor to even be speaking with you with that championship
Thank
behind you.
you. And I'm
Like,
holding it for over 160 days right now.
right, like I think 165 last time I checked.
Yes.
Like,
Okay.
You are doing it well, and yeah, you have so much challengers in OVW and so much women who are wanting to get that title. One woman in particular I want to shed some light on is Dream Girl Ellie. Girl, she called you a dollar store Beyonce. That was
The whole
that was rude.
audacity.
The
Thank
audacity.
you. The audacity.
The audacity. I can't believe it. But, she's quite the feisty challenger. So I want to ask you, you've been champion, as you said, for over 160 plus days. You've defended that title. What makes Dream Girl Ellie different from your other challengers?
She's not. She's not different. She's just someone who wants an opportunity that I don't think she's ready for. I mean, Dream Girl Ellie. Like, when you look at her and then you hear her and then you see her name, none of it makes sense. Like, when you hear wrestling's best musical diva, the fighting siren,
There you
Shaloncé
go.
Royal, you already know. But then you see Dream
Right.
Girl Ellie, who come out looking like a nightmare and screeching like a banshee and trying to hit people with barbed wire. Like, that's not a
Right.
dream, at least not my dream. A fever dream for somebody, but not my dream. So,
Okay.
it is what it is. However, I have to say, I've seen her. She's grown throughout the years, and she, she's a little challenge, but nothing that Shaloncé can't handle.
Right. Right. As I have said, you have defended that title for 160 plus days and counting. Love to see a long reign for Shaloncé Royale, but yeah, the division in OVW and all of the women's wrestlers in the independent scene is just so stacked, and I feel like there's just so much potential matchups. As I said earlier, maybe you could meet Becca in the ring. She's very, very character driven and also very high flying, and there's so much other women such as Dream Girl Ellie vying for that championship. But at the end of the day, you're the one with the championship, sitting beautifully right behind you, shining, shimmering, splendid, and everything. We love Shalancey's baby right there. But speaking of that, to sort of cap things off, I want to know, like, who are some women in the independent wrestling scene that you'd love to have a match to defend your championship against that you haven't had the opportunity to do so yet?
Hmm. Well, I recently checked one off my list, and that was La Rosa Negra. I was able
Right.
to face her at Ladies Night Out. Uh, Jasmine Allure. I hear a lot about her, and I watch a lot of her matches. She's a cutie and she's tough, which is
Right.
is very rare to come by. You either got girls that look really good, they can't do anything, or they're really extremely tough. And not saying they don't look good, but sometimes they can be a little rough around the edges. I'm just
Okay.
kidding. Just kidding. But no, Jasmine Allure is one. Also, she's not independent necessarily. I mean, I actually don't know what's going on, but Naomi. I would love to
Ooh.
face Naomi. I
Word.
would like to. I would like to have another shot at Haley J.
Okay.
Now that I believe that I gotten a lot better since the first time that I faced her. Um, so yeah, I would like to get her. This is such a hard because I feel like it changes day to day. It depends on like who I
Right.
encounter. Shaz is in the U.S. now, so I would love to
She
face
is.
Shazza McKenzie. I would like another shot at Kinsey Page. We wrestled
Okay.
years ago, and I was super nervous. And I feel like, oh, now, like, yeah, let's do this.
Yeah.
Um, I also would like to enter the intergender realm again and face like Joey Mayberry. I would love to face Joey.
Okay. Ring the
Um,
bell, fam.
yes, Joey and I have tagged together, but we haven't faced one another. And I just think it would be like a good, friendly slash amusing competition. And I
Okay.
would love to see that. And I just know there's a lot of ladies on my list, but
Yeah.
trying to think of them off the top of my head, but I know those definitely. And you know, I would like to face Anna Jay again.
Ooh.
Since what did she say? She got a bad attitude and a
And a fat ass.
yeah. Well, my attitude may not be as bad as hers, but I think I got her in the cake
Ooh.
department.
There we
But no,
go.
it's just been years. She and I started out training together at One Fall, and
Ooh.
I think she only had like 5 matches before she was signed. I think I was like 3 of those matches.
Oh,
So
okay.
maybe 2 or 3 of them, yeah. And I would love to face her again, just kind of like, you know, the memory, like the nostalgia factor
Yeah.
of it. I would love to face her. And Helica Risk, because she's burning it up on the indie scene. I don't think people are really paying attention like they should. She's actually doing really well. And Robin Renegade. We
Robin
also,
Renegade.
yeah, I was there when she came in, and it's just I'm so proud of everything that she's been doing now. And I like to face her again now that she has like more confidence under her skin and more experience.
Right. And yeah, that was just a lineup that you just said. All of those women and Joey Mayberry. Um, just so much potential matchups. And you do know, of course, you are the champion. So these you don't have to compromise for anyone. They need to line up for you because you are the champ. And
Yes.
you have all the authority. You are the face of OVW's women's division, if not OVW as a whole, in my opinion.
Exactly. So who's better to represent? Like I believe I have been one of the best OVW women's champions thus far, especially within the
Right.
last few years. So not to toot my own
There
horn,
you
but I got to give
go.
myself my own flowers, right? Now I like to always provide some sort of like encouragement, like a story slash encouragement,
Okay.
because this business is really tough. And I know that a lot of people, whether they're in wrestling or not, goes through something. And while I'm not at the end of my journey just yet, I think sometimes it helps to hear something from someone who's going through it still rather than someone that's already made it and then they're trying to tell you. So I know I mentioned quite a few times that there are times that I wanted to quit. And obviously, I'm not going to go through like all those moments. But what people don't know is 2020, I actually was going to stop wrestling. 2020 was a tough year for a lot of people. And 2020 and 2021 was just really tough. And I, my feelings were hurt on a lot of levels. Like AEW was filming at my training facility. And
Right.
those people that were there, they were called to be there. And I'm sitting there like, I'm the Dusty Rose American Dream Scholarship winner. I moved away from my home to be up here. I lost my job. I lost all this. And I didn't get a call to come to the facility to be a part of AEW while they were filming there. And what some people don't know is I was actually on Dark early back in the day. I was on Dark number 6, and I think it was Charlotte, North Carolina. And I teamed with Shazza. We tag teamed against Nyla Rose and Leva Bates, and totally night and day. And I kept looking at the match, and I kept wondering, like, well, I was there. Why didn't they call me back? Like, I'm 15 minutes away. And I looked at the footage and realized, like, I did my job, but I didn't really stand out, you know. And sometimes that's a tough thing to accept because in the music world, like in opera, or not necessarily opera, but like in my journey in college and performing, I always stood out. They see this 5 foot girl singing notes that are strong and high, and they don't understand how all that's coming out of me. I always stood out, even when I didn't want to. So now I'm in wrestling, and I feel like I sacrificed everything in a cow, and I'm not understanding like why isn't anything getting pushed forward. So I was going to quit, but then there was a thought that I'm like, have I tried everything? Like everything. And I felt like I didn't, but I just didn't know. So it took me going to a show back in my hometown is amazing, like the revelations you have back at your roots. I took a show. I think it was maybe at the end of 2020, maybe when things were trying to open up. I don't know. Uh, I was talking with some friends, some fellow wrestlers, and I told them, they were like, well, when were you really happy? And I mentioned that I was the happiest when I was in South Korea. And they asked me, well, why? And, I go through the story of like why I felt that way. But most importantly, it's because over there, I felt like I could be me, and they made me feel like I was a superstar every day. And even to the point where I literally was walking into a club, and one of my friends behind me was like, make way for Shaloncé. And that's when Shaloncé was born. So I always
Ooh.
joke around and say Shaloncé is Korean because she was born in South Korea. But that's because like over there they would say like, oh, Beyonce, or oh, Rihanna, like looking at me and like,
Uh,
oh, really pretty. And so they were saying those things, And I'm just like, oh, don't say that. Like, so fast forward to this moment, one of my friends was like, he said, well, you need to bring Shaloncé back. So I'm like, okay. So I went back to the drawing board and I'm like, you know what? This is what I can do. I don't see anybody doing this. I'm just going to sing and beat people up because
Right.
I'm actually quite angry and singing is quite therapeutic. And that's what I'm going to do. And if people don't like it, then they don't like it. And if they do, that's great. But at least I know I gave everything. And that's when I did my name change because I originally wrestled under my real name. Then I
Yeah.
switched to Shaloncé. And literally, I started training. I started like doing like indies again. And soon after that, that's when I got back to dark. Maybe like a year and a half after that revelation or something like
Yeah.
that. And that's when people like, oh. So I say all that to say, again, it's not like I'm sitting here with a contract, but I'm much happier in my journey. I mean, look, I literally made history. And if I
Right.
would have quit in 2020, I would never be able to say that I am an OVW women's champion. I would never be able to say, oh my gosh, I went viral on Twitter for a little bit because people just kept sharing my singing clip. Like
Right.
those moments matter. So for anybody out there that's struggling with their career or even personally, mentally, emotionally, just know that the journey isn't over unless you say it's over. And you know what you need to do, whether that's to wait or to soul search or to do whatever, but don't give up. It's not easy, let me tell you. I'm struggling now in different areas of my life, but you don't want to leave what ifs on the table.
That's right. Yeah.
And I I don't regret keeping going. I've made so many more friends, so many more connections. I've learned so much more about myself. And I'm glad that I didn't let the pandemic win. I didn't let my insecurities win. A lot of people would have been like, "Oh yeah, you shouldn't wrestle anymore. They clearly don't appreciate you, or you didn't do anything." I mean, look, you're literally right there, and they're not using you. And trust me, that hurt my feelings a lot. It got to the point where I wanted to write Cody. I'm like, "What's wrong with me?" But I'm like, I'm not gonna do that. I'm just gonna keep going, and I pray that this story has a very happy ending. So no matter what, don't give up and understand social media only shows a fragment of what really goes on. Like people think my life is just great, but no one knew that I was suffering. No one knew that I wanted to quit. And there are days that I still want to, but like it's worth keep going. So that being
Right.
said, if any of you out there feel like you want to give up, you could always tweet me. I am on Twitter. I'm also on Instagram. And you can find me by Shaloncé_Royal. You don't have to worry about the little accent there. You can just enter that in. I'm also on Twitch. I'm going to start my Twitch channel back again, and it's under the Fighting Siren. Um, I'm everywhere. I also have Facebook, which is Shaloncé Royal, and yeah, I say that. And if you want to talk to me personally, so right now I talk like personally with like my subscribers that subscribe to me on Instagram. Oh, I also have a YouTube as well, the Fighting Siren.
There you go.
You can find me anywhere. I just At the end
Anywhere.
of the day, anywhere. At the end of the day, if you're in a dark place, I'd rather you reach out to me somehow, or you just tweet me because I'm horrible at checking some of those messages. So you can tweet me, or I see the subscribers on Instagram. I see those messages directly. But yeah, just keep going. Just keep going.
Right, right. Oh my gosh, I feel like that was the best way someone's ever ended an episode with me or an
Really?
interview with me. I don't know, just like the inspiration, like it was very personal. So yeah, thank you for sharing all of those experiences. I know on paper I'm still technically still a stranger 1,000 miles away, but yeah, it really does mean a lot for you to share those experiences here on the show. It warms my heart. And that you are right. We do have all of our own personal struggles, and social media can sometimes, paint this facade about everything going on is, just fine, or all of those. Um, surface level understandings of one another. But yeah, thank you so much for sharing all of that. It really means a lot to me for you to say all of
Anytime.
those on the show. And yeah, be sure to check out Shaloncé. We will be supporting her career. She's the champion. She's got a long reign ahead of her. And we look forward to what else you have in store. And I hope you enjoyed your time here on the podcast.
Oh, of course. Thank you so much for having me and just letting me talk.
Of course, it was an honor speaking with you. And for all of you contributas, you guys know the drill. For all updates on the Turning Heel podcast, be sure to follow the show on all platforms where you can listen to your favorite shows on by checking out my link tree. That's linktr.ee/turning heel podcast. Thank you everyone for all of your support. Thank you, Shaloncé, for coming on the show. And I'll see you guys on my next interview. Bye.